Next on the agenda for tonight, we have Dr. Paul Wilson, electrical engineer. He comes to us tonight with over 50 years of experience, including first-hand work on the reactors at Hartwell Atomic Energy and Research Establishment in Berkshire in the United Kingdom. As well as that, we have first-hand experience with the nuclear engineering, working in the ZETA project, the Zero Energy Thermonuclear Assembly, the earliest attempt to build a nuclear fusion reactor that we just heard about. So, with your lovely gratitude, I would like you to put your hands together again for Dr. Paul Wilson.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. I'm probably the only person in the room who's actually worked on nuclear reactors. I'm not the only person in the room. Yeah, the reactors that I worked on, there were 6 of them, and they've got intriguing names. They were all research reactors: GLEEP, BEPO, DIDO, LIDO, Pluto, and Daphne. with the names of the 6 reactors that I worked on. So I've got a picture of Dounreay here. Dounreay is in the far north coast of Scotland, and it was actually created originally as a research reactor, but they turned it into a power station as well. It produced electricity for 23 years. When it really became redundant and they closed it down. It's mothballed now. It's awaiting demolition, and I don't think anybody actually knows how to demolish it. There are 2 reactors there in the spherical dome and the dome on the left-hand side. What was interesting was that a lot of radioactive waste was sent to Dounreay, and what they did was they just dumped it in the sea. So now they've got a major problem of cleaning up the seabed just off the north of Scotland. We just heard about Hinkley Point, number 3 nuclear power station that is under construction at the moment and running very late. The reason I showed you this picture is to show you the incredible complexity of a nuclear power station. Just look how busy that site is. It's unbelievable. And this is why they're so difficult to build, and this is why they're so expensive to build. And I'm going to allude to this a little later on. But they're actually putting the dome on top of the containment vessel. Now that building is the container for the reactor itself, because the reactor building has to be completely airtight. In order to stop isotope escaping from the building is run at a lower than air pressure, so that if you get any leaks, the air leaks inwards through it. And getting in and out of the building is fairly entertaining. It's like being on a spacecraft. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that so that you could see how incredibly complex these things are and why they're so expensive, you know, as a visual image. Okay, can we go to the next? Right, this is your turn. How many nuclear accidents can you think of, do you know of? We've heard of 2 so far. Yeah, 3 Mile Island was one. Anybody else? Okay, the international scale, and the international scale doesn't cover all accidents, it only covers the serious ones. I mean, there's one nuclear power station in Europe that had 800 accidents on their list of accidents, just on one power station. Right, so there are 37 accidents severe enough to rate an INES rating. So these are the 37. Level 7 is the highest. So we got Chernobyl and Fukushima, which you've almost certainly heard of. Level 6, Kishtim, 1957, and 3 Mile Island. Level 5, Chalk River, which is in Canada. Wind scale in England. Idaho Falls and Monroe, and there's the list goes further down of these are serious nuclear accidents that get an INES rating. Yeah, so it's more dangerous than you think. Well, you've all heard of Chernobyl. That's what it looks like now. Yeah, I mean that you can see the reactor building. You can see what happened to it. Yeah, when it didn't actually explode. It basically caught fire. It was virtually a slow explosion, and it just wrecked the building. Of course, that site now, you can't go there. It's just not safe. The whole site is very, very dangerous. Yeah. So, how on earth are you going to demolish that? Yeah, we'll come to that in a minute. All right. Next one. Kishtim. Who's heard of Kishtim? Nobody. Yeah, one person. Yes. You won't have heard of it. 1957. This was in Russia, and you can see what happened when it went up. Well, it was the same sort of destruction to the building, and the map shows you how the contamination carried across Russia and then right across Europe. Yeah. Very nasty. Radioisotopes drifting in the wind from the east. Yeah. Next one. Wind scale. Now I do know a lot about wind scale. I've been there several times actually, and I want you, I'll just point out, when this exploded in 1957, I was 13 years of age, and I'll show you where I lived. I was living there. Yeah, so I was exposed to it. Yeah, just didn't seem to have affected my age, but what happened was, and the thing we had. In fact, my family had only just got a television, and it was on the news a lot. And what was happening right across the north of England was that all the dairy farms had to dump their milk because the milk was contaminated with cesium isotopes and iodine isotopes. And they were just dumping it in the creeks and the streams. They couldn't sell it. And you know, we were really short of milk there for quite a while. So that was a real one. And you can see the hole in the reactor building where it just virtually exploded. What happened actually, the core of the reactor was made of graphite blocks, and the graphite caught fire. Yeah, so it just burnt and burnt and burnt. Yeah. All right, next. Okay, we've already heard speakers talk about radioactive waste. There is a lot more radioactive material around than just the exhausted fuel for the plant. When you're in that container building, and I've been in a couple, everything's contaminated. Everything, the dust in the air, everything you can think of, which is why it's kept at lower than air pressure, and so that you only get leaks in. Right? Just think about it. You got contaminated concrete, walls, floors, furniture, all your clothing soiled, yeah, with radioactive isotopes. How do they dispose of it? And right now, Britain is still searching for a dump site for their radioactive waste, and they can't find one. Right? So it's just being kept. It's actually being kept at Sellafield. All right. Next. Okay, here's the big one. The big issue for me isn't what we've talked about so far. It's how on earth do you demolish a nuclear power station at the end of its life? That's the big problem. Demolition and cleanup costs. Now this is Sellafield, and in fact if you have a look at the tower, that's wind scale number 2. Yeah, the reactor I just showed you. Wind scale number 1 was a similar tower. They actually demolished that. But wind scale number 2, nobody can go near it. It's so radioactive that people can't get close enough to demolish. Yeah? And the rest of it is the Sellafield power station, which is now closed down. It's really got way past its use-by date. And the costs of demolition has just blown out. They've just done a new estimate of how much it's going to cost, and they're talking about 136 billion English pounds to demolish it. Yeah? Frightful. How much electricity did they produce? It wasn't even close to that. Yeah? So for me, the big issue about nuclear power isn't the costs of construction and so on that we've heard about. It's the cost of demolition at the end of life. Yeah? Okay, next. So this is really my last slide about nuclear power. The cost of ownership must include the cost of demolition at end of life. And I did some work in researching how many nuclear reactors we've got around the world that have been closed down. And these are not the military reactors. They're not the ones to create weapons and the research ones. This is just power station reactors that have been closed down. 191 closed down. 15 have been demolished to a clean site. Of the 176 mothballed or abandoned, the majority have been abandoned. And what the Americans have been doing is, we'll just declare bankruptcy. Yeah, the company just went bankrupt, oh dear. What are we going to do with the reactor? Well, we just leave it. Yeah? So this is a serious problem. Serious problem. Yeah. Okay, next one. Right, this is my favourite alternative as an electrical engineer, and I've worked as an electrical engineer all my working life, all my career, and I particularly like concentrated solar thermal power. Right, Spain is the world leader. They have got 51 solar thermal power stations, amounting to, they're not very big, they're about 50 megawatts, 2.3 gigawatts of power, and they've got 8 gigawatt hours of nighttime energy. Not all the Spanish ones have got storage, heat storage, but there are a sufficient number to keep Spain going through the night. Yeah, so next. All right, this is what they look like. Yeah. In Australia, we've got 2. The CSIRO has a tiny little one just outside Newcastle, and there is a small commercial one just being built fairly recently, and that's it. So why aren't we doing this? And I appeal to the politician in the room, why on earth aren't we building these? Yeah. Right. So this is how they work, right? These are mirrors, right? And they're stainless steel sheets. They last forever, right? They don't deteriorate like solar panels on your rooftop do. Solar panel on your rooftop, hey, you're going to be lucky to get 15 to 20 years out of one before you've got to scrap them. These are stainless steel mirrors. They last for 100 years. Yeah? And they rotate and they focus the heat from the sun, not the light from the sun, the light and the heat, onto the power tower in the middle. So per square metre of mirror, you're getting roughly twice as much energy as you do from the light, yeah? The solar panels you got on your roof. And there's Spain's the expert, and we could buy one off the shelf from Spain and have it up and running in 2 years. Yeah, we could. They're the experts. Next. All right, and here, this is my last slide. This is one in the United States. So Spain's not the only country that's doing this. I like that one because it shows you the power tower, and the glowing white thing at the top is a huge tank full of molten salt. Molten salt's amazing because it stores an enormous amount of heat per cubic metre. Enormous amount of heat. So, you know, that power tower will run the power station through the night. Okay, and that's my offering for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul, for the information on demolition costs, but more importantly, alternatives.